Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 540. You know, that's quite an effort, even if I do say so myself. But my friends, George Hrubb at the Geologic podcast just released episode 600. Congratulations, George Hrubb. What a guy, what a fantastic podcaster you are, a great musician and a good and dear friend. And it's really nice to have you as a colleague and to meet you occasionally around the world. Congratulations, George Hrubb. But getting back to the Skeptic Zone, episode 540 for the 23rd of February, 2019. Richard Saunders here with you from Sydney, Australia. Today's weather report, overcast and a bit of rain. Coming up on this week's show, now you may remember, about 3 years ago there was a chiropractor here in Australia in hot water for treating a baby. And the baby was seen in a video to be in discomfort and distress as the chiropractor manipulated this baby's back. Well, it's history repeating itself. Another chiropractor has been busted treating a 2-week-old baby using a bizarre device called an activator. And we're going to be looking at this device and looking at the issue today on the Skeptic Zone, talking about Chiropractic, with a media report about this chiropractor. You'll hear the audio from the video, and we talk to Dr John Cunningham, who has received the Order of Australia, and, quoting from his website, has committed his professional life to the treatment of patients with spinal disorders. His opinion and knowledge of spinal disorders, especially those of the aging spine, spinal trauma and spinal imbalance, are respected worldwide. Now, John will talk to us a bit later on with his views on this chiropractor and chiropractic treatment. And after that interview, I read from the Skeptic magazine a report done a couple of years ago by Tim Mendham comparing what chiropractors have to go through for their professional training compared to GPs, with a contribution by Dr. John Cunningham. So the first part of this week's show is given over to Chiropractic. And after that, we have Maynard's Spooky Action. Maynard does a follow-up to the report that Trish Hahn did, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, where she interviewed Dr. Brad Mackay about pill testing. This is where there's a movement here in this state, New South Wales, to have pills tested at music festivals. So when people who buy drugs for whatever reason, and people do, go along to these outdoor festivals or indoor festivals and are prone to take a pill, well, at least there's a movement afoot to have these pills tested to see if they're poisonous or at least could do great harm. Now, Maynard, a couple of days ago, attended a talk, a meeting on this subject. He catches up with Shane Greenup, an old friend of the Skeptic Zone, who was there. Another speaker by the name of Sophie, who has a very personal and relevant story to relate. And also Dr. Alex Wodak, who is an advocate for pill testing at festivals. And just to make it absolutely clear, the Skeptic Zone is not advocating the taking of any illegal drugs at festivals or anywhere else. However, this is a relevant issue and it relies heavily on science and getting to the facts. So I think it's a topic well worth covering. Then to round off the show, I read a press statement, a position statement by the Australian Skeptics Inc. about gay conversion therapy, and moves in the state of Victoria to ban this bizarre, controversial therapy. That's right at the end of the show. Stay tuned. Do you stay tuned on a podcast? Do you stay? It's a term that it's going to be around for years and decades after its original meaning has been lost. Stay tuned. I mean, we use lots of terms in modern language from centuries ago, so maybe stay tuned will be one of them. Stay tuned. at the end of the show for more announcements from me. But now it's time for me to run downstairs. Where are those cats? Let me open the studio door. Nothing. I think they've got better things to do. Time for me to run downstairs, have a nice cup of black coffee. I'm trying black coffee for a while. Might help the old vocal cords. While I do that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. Making news here in Australia over the last week has been the story of a chiropractor in the state of Victoria who had himself filmed treating a 2-week-old baby. The video has gone viral, with people being shocked and outraged by what they have seen. Now, the video is very short, but here's the audio from it.
The neck the way that we talked about, okay? All right, so Ben, maybe if you hold here, I'm going to hold, so I'm locking him here. Okay, Kelly? All right, so I'm just going to go upside down for a second. Yep, and you can go back down, just hold his head. Thanks, Ben. Perfect. Good, now we're going to go onto this side. And Ben, again, if you can just hold him there. We're going to use the activator on the lowest setting, and I'll just show you on your hand here. So it's that. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's that. So it's the lowest ring. We're going to pop that on the side here. And we're going to come into here. And he's going to squawk a bit.
So in that video, the chiropractor Andrew Arnold at one stage held the tiny baby upside down by its feet and then proceeded to use what chiropractors call an activator, which is a bizarre-looking instrument, sort of like Doctor Who's sonic screwdriver with handles, to tap or send impulses into the baby. That's when the baby started crying. We pick up the story here from Caitlin Offer, the Australian Associated Press, as published at news.com.au. Chiropractor banned from treating children after controversial work on baby. A Melbourne chiropractor who treated a newborn baby in a viral video has been banned from working on young children while he's investigated. This story was published on the 21st of February. A Melbourne chiropractor filmed manipulating a 2-week-old boy must not treat children under 12 while he is investigated by authorities. Andrew Arnold was put on an undertaking by the Chiropractic Board of Australia on Thursday. Quote, "I will not undertake any chiropractic treatment of children from birth to 12 years," end quote. The undertaking, published on the Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency website, reads, quote, "I will not publish, display, promote or provide materials, information or advice that relates to the assessment, management or treatment of children from birth to 12 years, including, but not limited to, the publication of material on social media, blogs, and or any other platform on the internet," end quote. Mr. Arnold will be the subject of an investigation by the agency and board, Victorian Health Minister Jenny Mikakos said. Ms. Mikakos yesterday cited the, quote, "extremely disturbing," end quote, video after referring Mr. Arnold to the national authorities. And as an aside, if you simply Google Australian chiropractor baby or even chiropractor baby, you'll probably easily find the video in question. On Thursday, she confirmed she had heard back from the AHPRA and the Chiropractic Board of Australia. Quote, "They are investigating this matter, and in fact I have invited them to meet with me, and I will be meeting with both the chairperson of the Chiropractic Board of Australia and the CEO of the AHPRA next week," end quote, she told reporters. Quote, "I am concerned by this particular case, but I also want to ensure there aren't other chiropractors around Australia who are similarly undertaking these types of practices." It's very important that the board does issue very clear advice to all chiropractors in Australia about the inherent risks associated with these types of practices." End quote. Craneborn Family Chiropractic has since shut down its Facebook page where the video was posted in August. It also showed Mr. Arnold using an instrument to deliver a controlled impulse on the baby's neck and back, causing it to scream. One of the baby's parents is believed to be off camera as Mr. Arnold talks through the consultation and warns, quote, he, the baby, is going to squawk a bit, end quote. Mr. Arnold and the clinic have been contacted for comment. The Royal Australian College of General Practitioners President Harry Nespollen has called on government authorities to ban the practice. Quote, "The government must start looking at this very carefully and decide whether or not they think it is okay to perform this treatment on a baby," end quote. The Chiropractic Board of Australia and the AHPRA have been contacted for comment. Now, doing a little bit of digging around, I came across the website of smartmethods.com.au, Australia's home of Activator. This is the device in question. If you go to that web page or you look, search for Chiropractic Activator, you see the device. Again, it looks like some sort of weird sonic screwdriver with handles. And the website states, the Activator method is one of the most widely researched chiropractic techniques and the only instrument adjusting technique with 23 clinical trials to support its efficacy. Activator Methods has published hundreds of clinical and scientific peer-reviewed papers, worked with major academic research institutions, and received grants from recognized entities like the USA's National Institutes of Health. And having a quick look at their online store, Activator Australia, the Activator 4 Easy Grip Chiropractic Adjustment Tool, $1,300. It says in part, the Activator 4, or IV, EZ grip, is especially designed for practitioners with smaller hands. The EZ grip solution has a shorter reach between palm and finger pads, which will give the leverage needed without undue hand strain. Oh, isn't that nice? It's comfortable to use. The base model, as far as I can see, the Activator 1 Chiropractic Adjustment Tool, is a bargain at only $450. And on the page that says, "What activator do I need?" we find the following video.
Hello, I'm Dr. Arlen Four, co-founder and developer of the Activator Method. In nearly 5 decades, the Activator Method has grown to become the world's #1 instrument adjusting technique. The mainstay of this gentle low-force technique is the Activator adjusting instrument, which is supported by extensive research, provides unparalleled reliability, and produces superior results for patients. Why is the Activator adjusting instrument preferred by chiropractors worldwide? Unlike other chiropractic adjusting instruments, the patented design and engineering of the Activator has been proven effective through clinical trials. The instrument is made of quality, sturdy materials, including stainless steel, and is covered by a 1-year warranty, the best in the industry. And Activator Methods provides product liability coverage for doctors who use the Activator adjusting instrument. The Activator adjusting instrument is available in several models to suit the varying needs of every chiropractor. The Activator 2 is ideal.
But I can't help thinking of something Dr. Harriet Hall, the Skepdoc, says about tooth fairy science. It's like doing a scientific study on how the tooth fairy flies. Joining me now on the line from Melbourne is Dr. John Cunningham from the Epworth Medical Centre. Hello, John.
And hello, Richard. How are you?
I'm very well. Now, you've had a chance to see the video in question, and you're familiar with the story of this chiropractor treating a 2-week-old baby. What were your impressions when you saw it?
The first thing that came to mind is the word unnecessary. There's absolutely nothing there is absolutely no evidence that treating babies, particularly newborns, with any sort of chiropractic care is required. I mean, a newborn, when they come out of the womb, they're absolutely gorgeous and perfect most of the time, and they're really the most incredible organisms, if you want to think of it like that. All they know to do is to grow and to live and to survive. And to think that you can make them somehow better than perfect is really quite concerning.
Yeah, and the baby in question certainly didn't, I mean, to my untrained eye, just looked like a normal baby. And it was very interesting because the chiropractor went about his business, and I don't know how to word this, but it's as if he almost knew what he was doing. According to his training, he thought he was doing something or the right thing.
Well, they've got a patter. They've got the key words that they use. One thing that he could just drive a truck through was when he was pressing on the baby's sacrum and saying that he's going to get the CSF flowing. Well, there's two problems with that. One is the CSF flows regardless. It's just part of life. And secondly, it flows the opposite way. It flows from the head down to the sacrum. And if there really is a problem with CSF flow, then that's a medical condition called hydrocephalus. And there is nothing that a chiropractor is going to be able to do for that condition. So, on three counts there, it is just, it's a flawed treatment. Now, I don't doubt that parents want the best for their children. I'm a parent of 4 children myself, and I care for them very deeply. But I get concerned that parents, well-meaning parents, are getting hoodwinked by these people to believe that they have something to offer them, when it's simply untrue. And now's the time that we can quite categorically say that there is no evidence that chiropractic to a baby of only 2 weeks of age is going to make the slightest difference. Yeah,
and in a way it's a good thing that this was done in an odd sort of way, or at least should I say it was filmed and put up online, because it sort of reminds me of the homeopaths. They make outrageous statements and they do outrageous things, and they gladly share them with the world because they really sincerely believe that they're actually doing some good or doing the right thing.
I'm sure they do, and I'm sure that a lot of chiropractors also believe that what they're doing is helpful. I would hope that would be the case. I think all humans are fundamentally, good people. But at the end of the day, if it's been shown that there's no difference between children treated with chiropractic and children that aren't treated with chiropractic, then why are you doing it? Why are you taking people's money, and why are you wasting their time? Even more concerning, are you treating conditions, real conditions, with ineffectual treatments?
Indeed, and I can't think of a more obvious example of something ineffectual than this bizarre activator the chiropractor is using in the video. I have seen them before, and it's sort of like a sharp impulse sort of device that looks like something out of science fiction. And I noticed that you can buy a range of these things. The top level is the Activator 5 at only $2,399.
Is that how much they cost?
Well, that's top of the range. That's for the the chiropractor on the move.
Want the top of the range, wouldn't you? Yeah. I know you can also buy children's toy versions of them as well.
Good grief!
And dare I say, they're probably just as effective. Look, I don't want to come across as sounding like I am incredibly cynical when it comes to chiropractors. There are chiropractors that take their job, with seriously, and they use evidence-based approaches, and they're more like I guess I could say spinal physiotherapists. They're specialised people that deal with spine and back issues, and they're very good at what they do. The problem that I have with chiropractic is that there's this other group who want to believe in magic. They want to believe that their magic hands can somehow manipulate this life force that nobody can see and nobody can touch. Oh, apart from them, but this life force is somehow dependent on the alignment of vertebrae, which they can't change anyway. It's flawed on so many levels, and I wish that I could talk to people that are thinking about doing chiropractic and say to them, if you're going to go down this path, you're going to come across people that believe in magic, and they're going to try and teach you magic tricks. And I hope you stay awake and you're aware of this path that they're going to try and lead you down. If I was thinking about doing chiropractic right now, if I was leaving school, I'd probably choose a different job,
right.
choose a different line of work, because it's only going to get harder for chiropractors. Every time they put one of these videos up online, I mean, they're just kicking home goals. They're digging themselves deeper holes, and eventually people are going to run out of patience with them, and much more restrictive laws will be passed. So I hope that they stop doing this. I hope that they stop promoting paediatric chiropractic, not only for the children's sake and the parents' sake, but for their own sake.
Yes, and it's interesting you should say, bringing the spectre of maybe regulation. Well, the more they do it, the more it becomes under the notice or to the attention of government. And I think even the Health Minister in Victoria have been quite concerned by this video. And this may lead, who knows, this may lead to them taking a hard look at this activator. Oh, by the way, the cheapest model is only $450. And maybe actually putting out a warning or banning it somehow.
Look, the activator I don't think does much harm itself, and that was the idea of the activator. So before the activator came along, chiropractors were doing these manipulations with their hands and, causing injuries with those, particularly to adults with vertebral artery dissections and things like this. The idea of the activator is it makes the manipulation a lot more palatable and, reproducible to some extent. I don't think regulating the activator would do anything. I think, my personal opinion is that this concept of self-regulation, where the chiropractic board are regulating their own profession, I think is flawed. They only have to show that their practice is in alignment with, get the pun there, is in alignment with other chiropractors. So if you've got one clown and he says, I'm behaving just like that other clown, well, then it's okay, according to the letter of the law. I would say it's time to actually take things seriously and say if your practice is not supported by evidence, almost any sort of evidence, then it should not be done. I mean, that's the rules that medical practitioners abide by. We always have to practice evidence-based care. And I don't know why other health practitioners, and I use that term loosely, shouldn't have to abide by the same rules.
Indeed, absolutely. But maybe this is a case of the more that these videos appear, the more likely it is that something finally gets done about it. And just finally, John, all the years that you've been interested in this, do you really think that chiropractic is waning, or is it almost an impossible fight for evidence-based medicine?
I never give up hope. The well-oiled machine of chiropractic marketing is certainly keeping them alive. The more they dig their holes, though, I think the more trouble they're going to get themselves into. And people aren't hoodwinked as much as we used to be. Unfortunately, there's also this groundswell of people wanting to be more well, the whole wellness concept.
Yeah.
And people are always looking for that next thing to make them more well. And chiropractic offers that. They offer not just chiropractic now, but they'll offer massage and dry needling and motivational speeches and all this sort of stuff. And you come out of there and you've spent an hour, and it was an hour of relaxation. Of course you feel better. Yeah, So chiropractic is often offered these days in conjunction with all these other concepts like massage and dry needling and meditation, and that's all good and well. But at the heart of chiropractic, if you are being told that manipulating the spine is going to make you somehow more well than you already are, then you've been hoodwinked. You've been sold the snake oil. The clicking that comes from chiropractic manipulation is the equivalent of cracking your knuckles. It comes from the facet joints at the back of the spine, and it's of no more significance than cracking your knuckles.
Yeah, but it sounds good. It sounds like something's happening. I know, because when I was a teenager, I had it done myself, and when you hear all those cracks in your back and the chiropractor says something like, "There, I've got it," it's very convincing.
It's very convincing. You need to understand that this, chiropractic was established by a guy who, prior to inventing chiropractic, was selling magnets as a health therapy. And I know myself, I've had a sore back from time to time, and I've been to a physiotherapist and they've given them a couple of cracks and it feels better. Much like cracking your knuckles sometimes makes your hands feel better.
Yes.
But that's all it is. It's not tied in to treating asthma or bedwetting or colic or your immune system. It has no bearing on all these other systems whatsoever.
Well, John, look, thank you very much for chatting to the Skeptic Zone. We're going to keep an eye on this story. I mean, the chiropractor in question is being restricted in his practice at the moment, and I think there are investigations underway. And folks, I will link to Dr. John Cunningham's website so you can check out him for yourself. But for now, Dr. John Cunningham, thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard.
Dr. Harriet Hall, MD, known to thousands as the Skepdoc, a retired family physician and former Air Force flight surgeon. She writes about medicine, so-called complementary and alternative medicine, science, quackery, and critical thinking. Harriet now has a free course, a series of 10 video lectures on science-based medicine and alternative medicine. The videos and an accompanying course guide can be found by following the link at skepdoc.info or by visiting web.randy.org/educational-modules.html. Topics covered in the series are science-based medicine versus evidence-based medicine, what is CAM, chiropractic, acupuncture, homeopathy, naturopathy and herbal medicine, energy medicine, miscellaneous alternatives, pitfalls in research, and science-based medicine in the media and politics. Harriet covers each topic in a matter-of-fact, no-nonsense way that's sure to educate and entertain. Skepdoc.info.
Continuing our series of reports, interviews, articles, items from the Skeptic magazine, the Journal from Australian Skeptics, we turn to Volume 36, Number 1, from March 2016. And on page 46 we find an article by Tim Mendham, who is the editor of the magazine. Diplomacy. Tim Mendham looks at medical qualifications, chiros versus GPs. Chiropractors want to be the first port of call for healthcare, but how do their qualifications stack up against those of GPs? Is it true that GPs and chiropractors do much of the same level of training and are thus equally qualified to practice primary healthcare? Should chiropractors play the role that GPs currently do as the first stop for medical consultation? The argument used by chiropractors to practice as primary healthcare is that they must go through the same level of medical training as GPs, including the same courses, and are thus as qualified to offer primary health care as GPs. The question is whether this is true. The vision statement of the chiropractic professionals' peak body, the Chiropractors Association of Australia, CAA, positions chiropractors as an alternative health system distinct from the mainstream and aims to achieve a fundamental paradigm shift in healthcare direction where chiropractic is recognized as the most cost-effective and effective health regime of first choice that is readily accessible to all people. In an article on the Choice website, Karina Bray, Senior Content Producer, Health for Choice, laid out some of the issues associated with chiropractic and differences between it and the GP profession. Apart from the level of qualifications, these issues included the anti-vaccination stance of many chiropractors, the potential for misdiagnosis, and preventative manipulations which may cause problems where none previously existed. The claim for chiropractic training. Oz Sid Guy 35 responded to Bray's article on the Choice site with a comment that the article was biased, with Bray apparently showing a lack of understanding of what training chiropractors go through, which is a full 3-year bachelor's degree in science followed by a 2-year master's degree. If anyone does some research instead of taking extreme biased views, they can clearly see chiropractors do take extensive training and just as much as GPs in the science side of things. The courses are very similar. GPs require and the same as chiropractors courses in anatomy, physiology, physics, chemistry and biochemistry, neuroanatomy, etc. These courses do not differ. They are not taught by anyone different either. The person in question teaching the specific course has to have a degree in that specific course, i.e. biochemistry teacher has to have a bachelor's of biochemistry with honours, etc., depending on the university of the min requirements. Hence, some are better than others, just like medicine. Both require a minimum, though rest assured, as per law. Chiropractors also learn ECG monitoring, blood pressure, etc. That's why they can do this stuff also, as you get taught this in anatomy and physiology second level. The only parts where they differ is GPs branch off into getting training for drugs, where chiropractors actually keep going with even more in-depth anatomy and physiology specific to what they deal with each day. Even the years are the same. Check out Australia AMA page. Takes 4 to 6 years. Chiropractic takes minimum 5. Then medical does a further 1 year, normally hospital residency. A chiropractor does this in addition to its normal studies for 2 years in their master's degree. Both are classified as doctors. One is of medicine to prescribe drugs. The other is non-drug prescribing profession. Both have their needs in society. Most nurses or MDs agree with this. Oz Sid Guy admits that more research is needed, but adds, if people are getting relief from this, and there is lack of scientific evidence around, that does not mean it does not work. Just means we need more studies to show why it works in the people it does and how. There are many chiropractors who would share Oz Sid Guy's views. Unfortunately, those views are not correct. The reality of medical training. Mr. John Cunningham is an Australian-trained orthopaedic surgeon who specialises in the treatment of spinal disorders. He is a Fellow of the Royal Australasian College of Surgeons and of the Australian Orthopaedic Association. In the 2016 Australia Day Honours, he was awarded a Medal of the Order of Australia, OAM, for services to medicine and the promotion of immunisation. He suggests that Oz Sid Guy's understanding of chiropractic training and the training of GPs is considerably lacking. For a start, Mr. Cunningham says a GP must complete a medical degree, which these days is often a 6 to 7 year program of the medical sciences as well as clinical medicine. It is taught by scientists specialized in the field as well as clinicians. Medical practitioners are taught evidence-based medicine. Meanwhile, chiropractors are taught make-believe, like Gonsen, pregnancy and pediatric chiropractic, completely without evidence. Medical students are not taught by chiropractors, nor are chiropractors taught by medical practitioners. The courses differ, and they differ enormously. How do I know? Because I did a science degree with chiropractors at the University of New South Wales before completing a medical degree. While their science degree was similar, they only did one major in anatomy and so missed out on physiology and biochemistry. Just anatomy. They were not exposed to nearly as much detail of the other subjects as medical students, nor did they learn anything about human behavior, microbiology, or pharmacology. Just anatomy. To even suggest that chiropractors learn ECGs in the same detail as a medical practitioner is laughable. Making a claim that the two streams simply branch off is ridiculous. They share no common ground to begin with, so cannot branch off, as Oz Sid Guy puts it. And a medical degree is only the start. GPs must also complete a 3-year vocational training pathway covering many aspects of medicine not covered in detail in the undergraduate section of training, as well as passing more exams, then a fellowship exam. So we're up to 10 years just now. And Oz Sid Guy thinks that's only about drugs? What do GPs see? Only the broadest range of conditions that can be treated with evidence-based medicine. Yes, drugs are used, but what about, say, diabetes counselling, family planning, psychiatric care, end-of-life care, pediatrics, learning difficulties, musculoskeletal complaints, dermatology? I could go on, but to simplify things to the idea that all GPs do is prescribe drugs is ludicrous. A chiropractor is trained now in universities, Mr. Cunningham says, but many aspects of their curriculum are not evidence-based. Simple as that. And saying more research is needed is not the same as saying it works. Much research has already been done, and the only thing that chiropractors can treat better than GPs is acute back pain, and only in a small subset of patients. Researching it more may provide more evidence for other conditions, but it also may not. One's chickens should not be counted before they're hatched. Suggesting that chiropractors can replace GPs because some of their subjects have the same broad title as each other is blatantly false. You might make the same claim about physiotherapists, osteopaths, nurses, pharmacists, and I could go on. GPs have their place, and that place is the primary family physician. Chiropractors should learn their place too, and it's not where they think it is. And that was Diploma C, written by Tim Mendham, and you can read that for yourself on page 46 of the Skeptic magazine, volume 36, number 1 from March 2016. Freely available at www.skeptics.com.au. The Skeptic magazine, the journal from Australian skeptics. Subscribe online to the world's second oldest skeptical magazine. Visit www.skeptics.com.au and click the publications link. You can also find there over 30 years of back issues free to download. The Skeptic, the magazine from Australian skeptics.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
I'm just popping down to 36 Glebe Point Road, which is where they have bed. Upstairs, the Red Bar, of course, but out the back is the Bed Bar, and there's going to be a bit of an advocacy meeting for the SSDP. What is the SSDP? Let's go in and just find out what it is. In there we'll have politicians, we'll have harm reduction medical specialists, and we'll have people that have had actual first-hand experience of overdoses and why they think if there'd been a bit of knowledge and harm reduction around, that wouldn't have happened to them. Inside we go.
Yeah, go.
Actually, I'll have a chat to you first, actually. Look, I'm here with Shane, who I think I last spoke to in Las Vegas. I think would have been the last time I spoke to you when you were doing some great work with a skeptical brow. So what are you up to these days?
These days, settling down for a simpler life at the moment.
Right. You didn't like the idea of arguing. A skeptical browser is a tough sell on some people, isn't it?
It's a very tough sell. And it got harder, actually, with the advent of the misinformation age, where suddenly everyone cares about it. Fake news came about.
Yes.
A lot of people are paying attention to it now, but unfortunately going a way that I think is just as dangerous as what they're trying to fight.
So what is your opinion of the whole drug testing idea here that they're talking about?
Absolutely necessary. Personally, I believe we need to legalise, regulate, educate, and tax and educate. Yeah. That's the process. We need to do it. Anything else, the war on drugs has failed miserably.
Yeah, well, just look around you, people.
Yeah.
I'm here with Sophie, who was one of the speakers, and you have a fairly unique perspective on the whole drug harm reduction issue. Can you describe briefly what happened to you and what your opinion is these days?
Yes. So, Maynard, I survived an overdose after ingesting 3 pills at a festival 9 years ago. And when I was having the overdose, I never received the care that I was supposed to get because my friends were too afraid to call an ambulance, and they were too afraid to, because they had drugs on them. And my boyfriend was too afraid to call an ambulance as well, too, or take me to medical care because he was the one that sold me the drugs. So I really feel like I could easily be the poster child for the dangers of drug use, but to be honest, what I think really is the problem is the fact that why my friends did not feel comfortable getting the help that I needed when I needed the care.
You said that also it made you angry as well after a while, and when you hear of the deaths at music festivals around Australia, you must almost imagine you being in their situation and the anger?
Yeah, absolutely. It angers me a lot. Because there are preventative measures out there that have been practiced for like 30 to 50 years and we're not implementing them, and there's people dying. Like, we're talking about young lives like mine. So yeah, I'm very angry.
You were 19 at the time, and of course you said that people would say, well, just don't take the pills and this won't happen, but that's very unrealistic, isn't it?
Extremely unrealistic. I mean, oh my gosh, I don't know anyone who hasn't tried drugs, not even my mum and dad, right? So like, I mean, we've got to be tackling this from a different angle. Because you just can't tell someone not to take from the cookie jar. Yeah, that's my analogy on it. So,
and my weird part of the story is you told how your boyfriend sold you 3 tablets. I thought, your boyfriend sold you 3 tablets?
Yeah, well, let's put it that way. He's not my boyfriend anymore. So
okay. I don't think you need to say anything more there. And what are you going to be thinking about with the state election? Because we have a number of parties on the left. We have the Green Party, we have the Labor Party. Yeah. Both have similar policies but a bit different. And I'm not trying to force you into a voting corner here, but what do you think about the offers of both parties?
Look, I think anything but what we have is better. And I would urge any young person to find out and learn how this voting system works so that they can get their voices heard.
Right. Maybe vote below the line. It takes longer, but
yeah, absolutely. And know where your vote counts.
Yeah, just in case. Look, I'm talking to Dr. Alex Wodak. How are you, Alex? And are you looking great and feeling fine tonight?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Look, Alex, you said that pill testing isn't the magic bullet, but what do you think would be the immediate effect of it if we did it? Well, what would we notice straight away?
There are 3 major benefits of pill testing that we need to talk about. And the first one is that where somebody who's bought a pill has the pill tested, gets advice, expert advice, that taking that pill would be very high risk, and decides to throw the pill into the amnesty bin. So that's an individual benefit. But what they've done now in Europe is they turn that into a group benefit. So they have worked on the communication of that information to all the other people who were there at that event. So in some of the places they've got a network of video screens around the event, and they show a photograph of the dangerous pill, and they say, if you've got a blue pill with PM67 on it and a smiling face on it that looks like this. We just tested a pill like that, and it contained this stuff, and that's highly lethal. If you take that, there's a high risk that you'll be hospitalized and possibly even die. We recommend you throw that away in the amnesty bin. And so there's a group benefit from that. And the third benefit is the market benefit. And what happens with the market is that hard or impossible to prove this or to disprove this, but it's very likely that if people who are going to sell drugs at an event like that know there's going to be pill testing there, they're not going to sell their dodgy pills. They'll sell their low-risk pills.
The question I'd like to ask is, people might be wondering, what would pill testing entail? Are you using spectrographs now, are you?
Yes, there are half a dozen different techniques that are used, and they've all got their own advantage and disadvantage. They're using the same kind of technology that is used in hospital laboratories and scientific laboratories across the country.
It kind of sounds expensive. These machines are expensive.
Yes, these machines are expensive, and that's why nobody wants to do civil disobedience, because
you've got to buy a $120,000 machine to be disobedient.
And that could easily be confiscated, and then you'd be in real trouble. I think what we will see is edging our way closer and closer to pill testing. We'll, at some point, all 6 states and 2 territories will have pill testing. I wish that would happen tomorrow, or actually I wish it had happened yesterday.
Thank you, Dr. Alex Wodak, for being on the Skeptic Zone.
Okay, my pleasure.
Hello, listeners of Maximum Fun. I want to tell you about our newest podcast that tells you all about the truth of the flat Earth.
Have you been looking out over the horizon and you've been thinking, wait a minute, this doesn't look round. I've been lied to my whole life.
What is NASA doing with $52 million a day?
Come on. We explode the myths.
Just kidding. We're Ono, Ross, and Carrie, and we investigate extraordinary claims.
That's right. We investigate extraordinary claims firsthand. We go undercover in fringe groups. We get alternative medicine treatments. And we hang out with people who have unusual beliefs, like flat earthers, 9/11 truthers.
We do ghost investigations. We've joined Scientology, and we got baptized in the Mormon Church.
If it goes bump in the night, then so do we. Why don't you check out Ono, Ross, and Carrie at MaximumFun.org?
Here is a press release by the Australian Skeptics, Australian Skeptics Inc., released on the 20th of February 2019. Australian Skeptics Inc., ASI, commend Daniel Andrews, Premier of Victoria, for his recently announced plan to ban gay conversion therapy across the state. These church-based therapies are not based on scientific evidence, have been proven not to work, and are well known to cause physical and psychological harm. Gay conversion therapy has been denounced by the Australian Psychological Society, the Royal Australasian College of Physicians, the Australian Medical Association, and the Australian Human Rights Commission. These practices include aversion therapy, for example, electrocution of genitals, administration of drugs to make people feel nauseous or vomit, participation in exorcisms, or prayer sessions to pray the gay away. Extreme pressure from family, friends, church leaders, and parents can coerce people into undergoing gay conversion therapy, threatening them with rejection from their church, family, and other social and financial supports, says Trish Han, Vice President of ASI. Han points out that those who do participate in gay conversion therapy ultimately find that their sexuality or gender remains unchanged, but they are left with significant physical and psychological trauma and experience a high incidence of suicide. Han says, church members enmeshed in these religious groups often face spiritual abuse and are unable to make informed choices. They are told that conversion therapy is their only option. Australian Skeptics Inc. find it reprehensible that every state and territory of Australia still allows this unsubstantiated treatment, despite evidence of spiritual, physical and psychological abuse. These practices are decreasing around the world, with nationwide, regional and de facto bans in countries including Argentina, Brazil, Canada, Switzerland and the United States. However, they are still being performed behind closed doors in many religious communities. Australian Skeptics Inc. welcome this measured decision by the Victorian government and look forward to seeing similar legislation across the whole of Australia. People struggling with issues surrounding their sexuality or gender identity are encouraged to speak with a general practitioner, psychologist or counsellor, not affiliated with a religious organisation. Crisis helplines such as Beyond Blue or Lifeline are available to those in urgent need. Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone. Now, as mentioned on last week's episode, I'm going to be in California in a few weeks. I'm going to be speaking at Berkeley, and it's the Bay Area Skeptics. And that will be on the 14th of March at La Pena Cultural Center, which is downtown Berkeley. It's quite easy to find. There will be a link, of course, on this week's show notes. And my talk will be Australia's Psychic Detectives and Psychic Predictions. Just how many crimes have so-called psychic detectives solved in Australia? How do their claims stack up against the results? Do police really call upon the paranormal to find missing people? Join Australian skeptic Richard Saunders as he examines some famous crimes and the alleged supernatural connection. Also, Richard will give an overview of the world's most comprehensive study into psychic predictions. It's fun reading a blurb about oneself. So that's coming up on the 14th of March. Links in this week's show notes. If you're in the Bay Area, I would love to see you. A shout out to Moriel. Thank you to those people around the world who contribute via Patreon and PayPal. That's very good to know. There's support out there, and my reporters also appreciate that. I've done this before, but it's worth doing it again. Siri, what's the conversion rate? $5 American into Australian dollars.
$5 US is $7.01.
There we go. A couple of extra dollars come my way as if by magic. But again, thank you to all those people around the world who do support the Skeptic Zone. Just think I can stock up on Twinkies again. A favourite of my nieces and nephews, Twinkies. I saw a box here in Sydney the other day of Twinkies. $14. No, $14.99. Oof. But for this week, Twinkies and all, this is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Please visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for show notes, contacts, and to access the back catalogue of episodes going back to 2008. You can follow the Skeptic Zone podcast on Twitter at Skeptic Zone, visit our Facebook page, or leave a review on iTunes. You can also support the Skeptic Zone via Patreon or PayPal. The Skeptic Zone podcast is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian skeptics or any other skeptical organisation.
Hello, people who listen after the music, the afterthoughts. Here's an afterthought. As you know, and if you're new to the show you don't, every so often I will roll a die, usually 10-sided. Where is it? My little box here. Here it is. I've got a 10-sided die here, so That happened to land on number 4. And I ask listeners to use their psychic predicting powers to predict the number. I normally roll it 3 times. Last time I rolled a 30-sided die. This week I'm going to roll a 60. Yeah, well, why not? Life's short, why not? Okay, so use your psychic predicting power. And there's a plane flying overhead and I don't care. Ha. Use your psychic predicting power. I'm going to roll the die. It's going to be 1 or all the way up to number 60. That's it rolling on the table now. And I'll spin it and roll it. Here we go. Falls off the table. It's taking a long time. It looks like Jupiter. All the stripy patterns. Here it's coming. It's slowing. Don't fall off the table. It's slowing down. I know you're waiting for this. After all that, it's 23. The first number is 23. I've got to write this down because sometimes I do this and I even forget the numbers. You should see what goes on behind the scenes here. 23. Okay, the next number coming up. I'll see if I can make this a bit quicker. Come on. There we go. And the next number is 14. Write that down. 23, 14, and the last number. That was quick. 27. This week's winning numbers. 23, 14, and 27. Is there a mysterious clue in there somewhere?